All right, folks, we're here at the NRB in Orlando for the first time in a while. It's been in Tennessee for a while, but today we're here in Orlando, and I have the privilege of talking to Ken Ham from Answers in Genesis. And Ken, first, thanks so much for the opportunity, and we appreciate it so much, you allowing us to chat with you today.
Hey, our pleasure.
Well, it's amazing because just last night, I was telling you earlier, we had a couples Bible study at my house where we were watching you debate with Bill Nye, the science guy, and obviously I believe you won hands down, but what's it been like since that time for you as far as the worldwide media, but even people coming out to the Creation Museum who might have saw that?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I have met people all over the world who saw the Bill Nye debate. In fact, indications are right now, and we think this is underestimating, probably about 20 million people or so have seen that debate.
Really?
All around the world. And I noticed after the debate, whenever I would be traveling, there would be people come up to me and say, "You're Ken Ham," and it was because of the debate. They saw me in the debate. But I tell you what really the debate was all about, and I'll just give you one example. I was out in California and was there in Hollywood area, actually, and speaking at a church. And after I spoke, a young man came up to me and he said, "I just wanted to let you know I was an atheist." And he said, "I actually watched the Bill Nye debate." And he said, as I watched the Bill Nye debate, I thought to myself, I need to go back and check out some of these things. And so he said he went to the Bible and started reading the Bible and he thinking about the things that were said during that debate. And then he said he switched on radio, was in his car, and he heard an evangelist preaching the message of the gospel. He said God put it all together and he became an on-fire Christian.
Wow.
And he said he points back to the Bill Nye debate as to God using that to cause him to start to question his position and go to the Bible. And then God used an evangelist to bring him to Christ.
It's amazing. You know, I was thinking when I was watching the very first segment where you were giving that 30-minute discourse, how most folks don't consider the historical perspective. They talk about observational things and then they believe in this millions of years, but they don't think about what you were saying. And I appreciate your humility in that, because to me there was so much joking and almost trying to put you down as a person, as your beliefs, but you stood right there with the message and maintained. And as a believer, we just continue to have more and more confidence in the scriptures and in the gospel.
Well, you know, just that statement there's another statement I've heard many times from a lot of young people. You said gives you more confidence. And many people have said to me the debate emboldened them.
Absolutely.
And parents told me it emboldened their young people at school to defend their faith. And, you know, one of the things that I tried to do at that debate, and I got some criticism from it too, because some people thought I sort of just gone in there and said, here's all the evidence that blows Bill Nye out of the water. But I wanted to go in there and teach people it's a worldview conflict because we have two different foundations, and to teach them how to think correctly. And to understand the difference between historical science, which is your beliefs about the past, and observational science. Because Bill Nye actually, in a sense, indoctrinates, brainwashes, cons people this way.
No doubt.
By saying, look, I can mix things together and do poof on the television and this explodes and look at this and this is fun, this is science. And then says, and molecules to man evolution, life coming about by natural processes, that's science. So I wanted people to understand there's a big difference between observational science, using your five senses to develop technology, and historical science was really your beliefs about the past. And to show them that Bill Nye was committed to a religion. Because he was trying to say, I had a religion and he didn't. And that's why I wanted people to understand he has a religion. I want him to admit his beliefs, which he wouldn't do.
No doubt.
I admitted my beliefs. You know, it's interesting, too. One of the questions I was asked at one stage, you probably remember this, is, I found out later it was a young boy that asked this question, but the question, in fact, there was another question asked by a young boy too. I remember it being something like, where did matter come from, you know?
Right.
And Bill Nye said, I know it's a great mystery. And I said, well, Bill, there is a book that tells you where matter came from, and it's the Bible. But another question that was asked was, is there any evidence that would come along that would cause you to question your position? And I said, no. And Bill Nye said, yes, if there's an out-of-place fossil or whatever. Now, if you analyze that carefully, first of all, I gave an example of an out-of-place fossil about wood in basalt, wood that was dated by carbon dating to be thousands of years old, and the basalt millions of years old, and
sure,
that's an out-of-place fossil. But he ignored that. And that wasn't, you know, what he said. If there's an out-of-place fossil, you know, I'll question my position, which shows you he's not sure about his position.
Right.
He's insecure in his position.
No doubt.
I'm not insecure in my position. That's why I said, that no, there's no evidence, because God is the creator. His word is true. And of course, you get these secularists that say, see, that's religion. As scientists, we're prepared to question and to change our position. But Bill Nye is not prepared to change his position on naturalism, right? And this is where people need to understand. I had an atheist in my office after the opening of the Creation Museum, and she said, so you start with the Bible? I said, yes. And you're not prepared to question the Bible? I said, no. And she said, see, we start with evidence, and then we develop theories, and when new evidence comes along, we're prepared to change our theories. Right. I said, really? She said, yes, see, we're prepared to change, you're not. And that was the same conflict with the Bill Nye debate, Bill Nye and me. And I said to her, oh, you're an atheist? Yes. So you don't believe in God? No. So you don't believe the Bible's true? Not at all. So you're not prepared to change on that? And then she just looked at me.
Caught her
because she's committed to her position. Bill Nye was committed to his position on naturalism, so he really didn't tell the truth when he answered that question.
No, not a bit.
And then people say to me, well, how on earth does one change their position? Well, that, as a Christian, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word of God.
Without a doubt. And let me take that just for a minute to the Creation Museum. I had the privilege of being there just a couple years ago, prior to the Ark finishing, so I'd just love to know more about that. But what I was blown away by was the spectacular beauty of the facility. And I know they're not together with regards to the same property, but what would you say to someone who, maybe they live in Florida, we're in Orlando, so it's a little bit of a distance. Is it worth the trip to come up there, and what will it do for their faith and for their family?
Well, the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter are what we call Christian-themed attractions. So these are real attractions, but they're Christian.
Right.
And the Creation Museum is like a walk through the Bible using animatronic dinosaurs, animatronic people, life-size exhibits. There's a planetarium, gardens. We even have zip lines, because Christians can have fun too.
Absolutely.
And, the petting zoo, which has teaching on kinds and so on. Before the Ark opened, I had many families who came and said, we've been to Washington, D.C., been to the Smithsonian, but this is way above the Smithsonian in quality. And, you can go to those museums and spend a few hours there. We have people come to the Creation Museum and they say, man, we've got to spend 2 days here.
It's true.
Then the Ark is a life-size Noah's Ark built according to the dimensions in the Bible. And it's the biggest timber frame structure in the world, and it's 1.5 times the length of a football field, and from ground level to the roof is 7 stories, to the bow is 10 stories, and there's 3 decks. Think about this, 1.5 size the length of a football field, 3 of them, filled with teaching exhibits, filled with themed exhibits, answering questions that cause people to doubt the Bible is true. In this day and age, there's a generational loss from the church. People are really worried.
Amen.
A lot of grandparents are worried they're losing their grandkids from the church. 2/3 of young people walk away from the church. Very few return. And we did the research, why did you walk away from the church? And it comes down to all these questions we hear today about millions of years, and how did Noah fit the animals on the ark, and where did Cain get his wife, and what about the races of people, and dinosaurs, and so it goes on. They cause them to doubt the Bible because many people don't know the answers to those. So the Ark and the museum, in a totally unique way, present the answers. And not only do Christians come, non-Christians come. Mm-hmm. I was leading a very well-known secular reporter through the Ark just after it opened. And halfway through, he stopped. And he looked at me and he said, and keep in mind, this person's not a Christian. Halfway through, he stopped and he said, you told me this was the quality of Hollywood. And I said, yeah. And he said, no. This is not the quality of Hollywood. He said, this is way beyond Hollywood.
Amen.
And then he looked at me and he said, for a start, the wood's real. I mean, you imagine the whole Ark is built. It was designed as a true wooden ship.
Exactly what it would be like.
And built as a building for tourists.
Does it float? People want to know, does it float?
My answer is it doesn't need to, because there's never going to be another global flood.
Only one.
Right?
That's a great answer.
Next time the judgment's going to be by fire.
Absolutely.
But we designed it for tourists. It's anchored to 3 big towers that house the restrooms and the elevators and so on. But it's the biggest timber frame structure in the world. 3.3 million board feet of timber. Wow. Just the architecture alone is amazing. And actually, the Ark, I mean, you pay. I just saw Disney putting up their fees again.
Sure.
You'll pay $130 or something, plus all the food.
Oh my
plus,
goodness.
For a family, it's thousands of dollars to go to a place like Disney or Universal. But you go there and you line up in long lines for ages. Then you have a 2-minute ride.
That's exactly right.
And you spend all this money. You come to the Ark Encounter. the Ark is an attraction in itself. It's like going to an attraction,
Sure.
just to see the Ark. Each deck is like an attraction in itself. And then all the exhibits we have. And then the zoo, and then the petting zoo. Even the restaurant is an attraction with the exhibits that we have in there. And we're building other things outside the Ark, and it'll go on to have other things. I mean, the value for money, our ticket price is less than a third of what it would cost you to get into Disney. And yet you experience all of this, and there's a big difference between us and the other secular attractions. We tell the truth.
Exactly.
And we
right.
equip children, and they'll never forget it.
No. Well, I know even my little boys did not. They still talk about it, and we're looking forward to going back, taking even in a larger group. Are groups welcome to come, not just
We have massive numbers of groups coming. And in fact, the group bookings for this year are through the roof.
Awesome.
We expect, just the research indicated minimum 1.4 up to 2.2 million people a year, but we believe there's going to be over 2 million people coming this year just by looking at the group bookings. In fact, there's a scarcity of hotel rooms actually in the whole area.
I bet they're talking about building more.
So when people go to our website, arkencounter.com, we also tell them they can link to DAT Travel, and they can book them hotel rooms. But it's sometimes a little hard to get hotel rooms in that area. We need more hotels. In fact, they're building more hotels. It's interesting, the Creation Museum, the local tourism group, said has an impact of $60 million on the economy in northern Kentucky a year. The Ark is probably 3 to 4 times that. So that's the other thing. We've noticed a lot of the secularists in the community aren't speaking against us like they used to, because it's having such an economic impact. Exactly. And some of the restaurants in the area the locals say they can hardly get in anymore because of the Ark and the Creation Museum.
Very good. Well, Ken, thanks for doing this. We appreciate your ministry. I love visiting your site. I've interviewed Bodie Hodge before on the radio show, and so it's a privilege today to have you, and we appreciate everything you're doing.
Hey, great.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.